As we conclude 6 weeks of war with Iran, President Trump's economic promises are colliding with reality.
We will end inflation and make America affordable again. We're going to get the prices down. We have to get them down. It's too much.
Trump did not quickly defeat inflation. We just had our largest inflation spike in years at 3.3%, thanks to Trump's war of choice with Iran. And then there's gas prices.
Gasoline for your car is going to be 50% cheaper than it is right now.
Also not true. Trump has triggered the largest one-month gas price increase in decades. Prices are up 30% since before the war, more than $1 per gallon. Same story for the price of oil.
Going from an average of $75 to $80 barrel of oil, which we've been suffering through in Biden land, back down towards 50, where we were with Trump.
That price is roughly double what Peter Navarro promised, regularly surpassing $100 per barrel. And the White House insisted the broader economy would be booming by now.
In the fourth quarter of 2025, this economy is going to be humming.
The data and your lives probably tell a very different story. GDP growth plummeted in the fourth quarter of 2025 from 4.4% to just 0.5%, far below estimates. And remember those trade deals they promised?
90 deals in 90 days is possible.
Right now, we're at more like 9 deals in 1 year. So far, we have formal agreements with just 9 countries, only one of which is with a major U.S. trading partner, Taiwan. And we have frameworks or interim frameworks with another 10 countries. So let's do a quick recap. Trump's promise to end inflation failed. Cheaper gas, hardest failure in decades. Cheaper oil, hardest failure in decades. Number 2, GDP growth, big fat failure. 90 trade deals in 90 days, historic failure for an assignment Trump came up with himself. You guys, shout out to John Ball, our producer, for putting that all together, because it shows that almost everything they're saying about the economy is not true, wasn't coming true, wasn't true when they said it, and hasn't become true after months and months of waiting.
Or one might say, a lie. Yes, a complete lie. When you said that they promised that the economy would be booming by now, what people didn't realize was that they meant kaboom. Look, the poll numbers show that this alternate reality that they're trying to force on the American people isn't working. This is E4, Trump's handling of prices since taking office. There's been a 25% increase in disapproval. In January, he had a 45% approval rating. Now in April, a 29% approval rating. The disapprove is at 64%. And then if you look at the approval change among Republicans for Trump handling of prices.
Which you're obsessed with, because why?
Because that's all he cares about. He only cares about what Republicans think. It's an 18-point drop since January, since he came back to office in January of 25. For a president who cares only about what Republicans think, and particularly his MAGA base thinks, those numbers should scare them. Should, but you know.
And if you're reading the tea leaves of what the Federal Reserve is doing, which is keeping interest rates up, not accommodating these higher oil prices, it shows, it potentially forecasts that there's going to be an even worse economic repercussions here than we saw in the 1970s when we had a similar oil shock.
No matter what they try to say, what they try to do, I learned this during the Joe Biden presidency. Joe Biden learned this the hard way. At the end of the day, you cannot force people to rethink their lived reality. Right? Like the money that's leaving their pockets every day, they know how much it is. They know how much gas is. They know how much rent is. They know how much health care is. They know when they have to steal from Peter to pay Paul. They know what that feels like and what that's like. And you can't trick them. And Donald Trump has spent years, including in his first term as president, essentially tricking people to be convinced of something that wasn't true, right? It works in real estate, right? It works when you're
tricking people longer before.
When you're in business and you're like, you know, we got the best thing and everyone wants it, you know, sure. But it's completely different when the American people have to live with the reality of what you're doing.
And you know, Jackie, you mentioned the Federal Reserve and interest rates. You know, the idea that interest rates will be cut now, which is something that the president really, really wants and is trying to get rid of the current Fed chair, Jerome Powell, because he won't cut rates. And he's got his own guy, I think Mr. Warsh, who he wants to be the Fed chair, who I guess he's assuming will cut rates. How are you going to do that?
Who, by the way, is not going to be confirmed until the Justice Department and U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro decide and publicly announce that they're no longer going to pursue an investigation against Jerome Powell. But we should also note that this is not just impacting America. Gas prices in Europe are even higher. They have skyrocketed 60% higher than what they were before the war.
Oh, just wait till 60% increase in gas prices hit here. And we'll see the pitchforks in the street. We're going to have to leave it there.
I'm going to start biking.
No, you're not.